Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jim Roy, and I'm the Executive Director at the American College Center for Military and Veterans Affairs. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's online seminar introducing three military support organizations. These three organizations are broad in scope, and our intent of the forum is to learn, for you to learn as much as we can about what the needs are of the military and their families, and what they do to support our military and their families. Again, welcome to the American College Center for Military and Veteran Affairs Leadership Webinar Seminars. This is another way for us as the college and the center to provide support back to those that continue to support us, and of course, our amazing military and their families. I'd also like to take a second to mention the college 2022 Clam Bake and Soldier Citizen Award event that will take place the 15th of September at the Constitution Center in Philadelphia. This year, we will be recognizing the many contributions of General Lester Lyles from the United States Air Force. With that, please put that on your schedule. And with that, let's go ahead and introduce our guest today. We've got some special guests with us today, three in total, and we look forward to the conversation that we're going to have. And again, I just draw your attention to the chat down below, and if you have any questions, please send those to us. First of all, we have Sal Cassano, who is a New York City Chief Fire Commissioner from 2010 to 2014 and is representing Tunnel to Towers today. We also have Meghan Wright, who is a National Director, Financial Wellness Program of Lincoln Financial Foundation. And we also have Lacey Langford, who is a military veteran, military spouse, and is the military money expert. Team, let's get started. Let me first of all thank you for everything your organization does to support military and their families. I would ask each of you to give us a little short overview of yourself and the organizations you represent. And with that, I'll ask Sal if you could go ahead and get started.
Sure, Jim. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me on the podcast. Talk a little bit about the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Well, I started as a firefighter in New York City in 1969. Probationary firefighter, was fortunate enough to rise up through the ranks. And after September 11th, I was promoted to the Chief of Operations. Then in 2010, Mayor Bloomberg appointed me as the Fire Commissioner. And then I retired in 2014 after almost 45 years of service. I got involved with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation right after September 11th. Stephen Siller was a firefighter in New York City, killed at the World Trade Center. He was off duty, just got off work, was heading home, heard about the towers being struck, went back to his firehouse, got his gear, ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel with 60 pounds of gear on his back, and ended up getting killed during the collapse of the World Trade Center. His family did not want to see his devotion, his commitment, and the commitment of all the firefighters that were at that tragedy to go not recognized. So they started the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I've been doing great things for the last 21 years almost. We'll talk about the programs a little later, but that's how I got started right after September 11th.
Well, that's great, Sal. And again, thank you for your service as well. 45 years is quite a long time. So certainly appreciate your dedication to that profession as well. Meghan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Tough act to follow, Sal. But my name is Meghan Wright. I am the daughter and granddaughter of U.S. Navy veterans. And it is certainly a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be here today. So Jim, thank you again for this invitation. I am the National Director of the Financial Wellness Programs at the Lincoln Foundation. And we're really, really proud to support the work of the American College. So the foundation focuses on three areas, all with the goal of building stronger communities and strong financial futures for those in those communities. We focus on education, human services, and financial wellness. And through financial wellness, we're really looking to provide really robust career pathways for people that are going through the programs and really helping to build that strong financial future. We are privileged to support, again, the American College and a number of other organizations across our 11 cities around the country. So again, it is an honor to support the scholarship program in particular that really encourages folks coming out of the service and their families to search for a career pathway in financial services. So I really am thankful to be here today and to talk more about those opportunities.
Absolutely. Megan, thank you so much. The foundations are all down in the chat, by the way. You can find out about them down there. I will tell you, Megan, I've worked together quite frequently, often, if you will. And one of the things that she talked about is that providing service, providing help to the college to provide those educational opportunities for the military and the military spouses back. So we're certainly appreciative of that. Lacey, let me ask you to share a little bit about yourself. I know you have a very varied background, as we've talked before. Please share a little bit about yourself and your organization.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I have a double hard act to follow, but I grew up in the military. Was an Army brat. I joined the Air Force after high school, and that's where I met my husband, and I became a military spouse. I basically have only gone, I think, 1 year out of my life without an ID card. So the military is definitely family to me. And then I have a financial background. That's something that I wanted to pursue as I left active duty, was to have a career in finance. And I pursued that. And due to military life, I kind of had to take a road less traveled, think outside the box, and started my own business out of frustration from being a military spouse. And it was difficult to build my career, which led me to the brand that I have, the Military Money Expert, where I have a blog and I have a podcast, the Military Money Show, where I help the military community make, save, and invest money wisely. And that's a weekly show, and things go out on the website, articles that are specific to the military community and money. And then I also have a conference now, Mil MoneyCon, which I think I'm going to speak a little bit more about, but that was something also created to help people that have gone through some of the things that I have, wanting mentorship in the financial professions after they leave the military, and for military spouses as well. So military money is kind of my passion.
Yeah, and obviously that comes through, Lacey, and thank you for that. One of the things I would just ask you, just maybe if you could expound upon, some of the challenges, being I affectionately call it a military brat. I have two of them myself, and then being a veteran yourself, and then into being a spouse. If you could talk a little bit about that challenge along the way of that. Only 1 year without a military ID is just amazing to me. But yeah, if you could talk to those challenges.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is the transitions. There is always moving parts, and it's really hard to plan when you have that many things going on, whether that be a PCS, you're moving every 2 or 3 years, whether that's training that the service member is going to. I always say packing lists in the military are a hidden expense that nobody thinks about. The Ranger School packing list alone, the extra gear that you need, those type of things sneak up on you. And then military spouse, their employment plays a critical role in the budgeting of military families. So if you have two incomes and your car payment is dependent on the military spouse's income, and then you PCS, that is a major stressor to not be able to make your car payment because you needed that income. And now that you've moved, the military spouse might not be working yet, or might not be able to get a job where they're at, or it might be at a spot where they're underemployed, so making less than they normally do. So those are some of the big things, is that inconsistency in income and the budgeting through transitions, and then getting out of the military, I think, is the next big hump, is financially preparing for that major transition.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions, and certainly just to know that the audience that we have on today typically comes from the college, affiliated with the college, obviously, that interested in, kind of the military and kind of some of the challenges. Some of them will be military, but not all of them, and they want to know more about the military. So this is a great forum for that. Sal, if I could maybe go back to the Tunnel of the Tower for just a minute. Monday we celebrated Memorial Day. I say that very somberly, and that Memorial Day is about recognizing, acknowledging those that gave it all. Those in uniform that gave it all. And I know different organizations have done a lot of different things for military members and the Gold Star families. Tell us a little bit about what Tunnels to Towers has done to acknowledge this.
Sure. Well, there's a couple of things. We started out as a first responder organization, but then when so many of our young men and women were coming back from the war zone, severely injured, catastrophically injured, we just thought we had to go and help them out in some way. And we started building smart homes for these catastrophically injured veterans. The first one was built on Staten Island, actually, a hometown young man, Brendan Morocco, a quadruple amputee. We built him a smart home in 2010, and we've been building them ever since. And then we started what we call our Gold Star program for men and women that lost their spouse and have young families, and we pay off their mortgage, or we will build them a home. And so we've been doing that ever since. Last year, we broke ground on what we call the Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Land O'Lakes, Florida. It's 110 homes it will be, fully serviced with, all the amenities that you would need. And we're gonna, give them homes out to our people that need them. And then, as you said, what do we do this weekend? Very special weekend for us as well. This weekend, we paid off 21 mortgages for our Gold Star families over the weekend. Wow. And we made a huge announcement, Jim. It's a very big undertaking. There's almost 40,000 homeless vets in the United States. It's a number that's hard to fathom, but we vowed to provide homes to all those veterans. And the program is kicked off. It's a huge undertaking. We have plans right now to have 500 of our homeless veterans under a roof by the end of the year, and then we're going to take off from there. We're also partnering with other agencies because it's just not about giving somebody a home, a homeless veteran. They need other services. They need financial help. They need a job. They may need medical help. They may need psychological help. So it's going to take a village to help these homeless veterans. But first thing is we need to do is get them a home. So that's the big announcement we made over the weekend.
Yeah, that's amazing. For those online that may not know what a Gold Star family is, or a Gold Star mother or Gold Star spouse, can you talk a little bit to that, Sal? Because that's really kind of goes right to the heart of what we're talking about here.
No, a Gold Star family, a Gold Star is either somebody that lost their husband or their wife in the battle, and now they're alone. And I mean, Lacey could talk about so many of the other things that would be needed. But the first thing we know is if we could take at least the burden of them and have it to say, how am I going to pay off my mortgage? Where am I going to get financial aid? Or where am I going to live?
Right.
So by providing that home or that mortgage-free home, that's one burden less they have to worry about. Yeah. And I think that's the least we can do for the people that make us safe and take care of us.
That's right. That's right. One of the things, Sal, you talked about the first recipient being there in Staten Island. A lot of times what we find is that through the Guard and Reserve, a lot of our military in the Guard and Reserve are doing these other jobs, like, a full-time employee, being a firefighter or a police officer, or, an executive, or even a financial planner. Right. Yeah. So can you talk to that a little bit? I mean, I looked through your website and there's many examples on there. Can you talk to that a little bit?
It's funny that you mentioned that, Jim. In 2004, we lost a firefighter, Christian Engeldrum. Mm. He was killed in the line of duty in Iraq. Wow. And, I can remember it vividly. It was the 35th anniversary of my day in the job, November 29th, 2004, when we lost Christian. And, it was considered line of duty for us as well, but he was at National Guard, and yet he was a firefighter. And we've lost a few more like that. We lost two about 3 years ago. So while these National Guard are in the reserve, they have other jobs. Right. So we have to make sure that we take care of them. If they're going to risk their lives protecting, well, for us, the city of New York, but it could be the city of any place else, and then they're going to go risk their lives for their country as well, we definitely have to take care of them and their families. We have to send that message out to them that if something happens to you, we're going to take care of your families. And we do.
Yeah, that's amazing, and from a military side, myself and many others on the line here, we're very appreciative of organizations like Tunnel to Tower and others that we'll talk about here in a minute, because of the support that's provided, and our families, we leave behind a lot to do the mission, and quite candidly, we rely on organizations like yourselves to do that. So we're very, very appreciative of that. So thank you, Sal, and thanks to the Tunnel to Tower. Megan, if I could kind of expound on that just a little bit from the Lincoln Financial Foundation. You and I have done a lot of work, as I talked together about here a little bit ago. And a part of owning a home, like Sal's talking about, is that whole education behind that, right? And the expenses involved in it. Can you talk about what kind of foundations you all are connected with, or organizations you're connected with that do support that type of activity, or what Lincoln Financial does in a larger scale?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, in addition to the financial wellness portfolio, we have a robust human services portfolio too. We're looking at how we can best serve our military families. So whether it be things like food banks, we have a program that focuses specifically on veteran and military families. So we're really looking at a holistic approach upon what those needs are for our military. And when I think about the American College, I've been with Lincoln for 2 years now, and the college was one of my first interactions with the grantees. And as I was listening to the scholarship program and the impact that it was making, it was really such a natural progression of serving in the military and then having a career ready in financial services. So it was really insightful to hear about the impact, and to what Lacey was saying too about the military spouses, and so having access to programs for not only those that are serving, but the families that are supporting them. So we're really looking at holistic programs. We support a program in Philadelphia that is specific for veterans who are looking to build entrepreneur programs in establishing new business. Another really great career pathway for the military. So it's been a real pleasure to kind of taking a holistic approach. And I was also sharing earlier that we have employee resource groups here at Lincoln that are fully about the employees at Lincoln. And we have resource groups that are grouped by interest and similar interests. And we have a very robust veterans network here at Lincoln. We have over 125 members of people that served in the military that are now working at Lincoln, and they're constantly giving back as well. So 50% of actually the veteran population at Lincoln is part of this BRG, and they're always looking at engagement opportunities where we can do things like not only recognizing the holidays, but also doing volunteer opportunities as well, to further support and engage with other veterans, and going back into some of the programs like mentorship and leadership and leading, helping the community just become more involved, ours in the community and the community in ours as well.
Right. And that attention, that focus back to the military. We always say in the military, if you're not impacted by it directly, you're really not, right? You don't know much about it. So, organizations like yours really draws attention to this, and we in the military are certainly appreciative of that, because again, we're not asking for a handout.
That's right.
By any means. It's, we're very appreciative of what is offered. Again, this isn't about the American College, but I must add, the things that organizations like yourself have done to empower the American College to provide those scholarships to military members and their spouses. We're one of the few that provided to the military spouse as well, to go back to college to get these designations, or to get their master's degree in financial planning or financial services says an awful lot about your organization.
Yeah, and I think what I would add to that, Jim, too, is when we're looking at wealth building.
Yes.
As a security, so we're looking at those programs that are invested in long-term success, financial success.
Right.
And one of the things that we're always looking for in a partner, especially with the college, is all of the supplemental programs that support that as well. Right. So you're offering career, job training, other career enhancement, job placement. You have great relationships with organizations that you work closely with in that. So those are the kind of innovative approaches that we're looking for at Lincoln to most appropriately serve the military community.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to go back to a comment that was stated earlier about spouses. And I want to ask Lacey if she would, just to talk a little bit more about that conference you talked about. You kind of touched on it, but you didn't much. When you talk about spouses and the transition that happens every 2 to 4 years while the members in the military, that is a time of a lot of chaos. It's a time of underemployment, or even overseas, maybe without employment. But I did go to that conference, and I will tell you, it was very impactful. Not just to myself, I was kind of watching and looking around, watching others. Can you talk a little bit about some of the creativity that our spouses, our military spouses have, and what you were able to bring together with some of those organizations? I think this really bring light to what we're talking about here, and that employing spouses.
Yes, I think that a frustration for me and for many other spouses and the service members, because that is their loved one, is the career path, and often the military spouse is forced to take a knee when they move somewhere. They're not able to work right away, or they're not able to work hours. For example, if your spouse is deploying, working a full-time job is not an option for most people. You can, but it's very stressful. And in some cases with small children, financially, it's not a good decision. And so a lot of times you're having to work preschool hours. That's what you need to do to keep your career going. And part of me doing this conference, Mill MoneyCon, was to meet that need, to say, hey, here are companies that want to support military spouses in their careers and are willing to work outside the box, to say, all right now you can only work preschool hours, but in 6 months you could work full time. And after that 6 months, it might be part-time. So they're willing to go the extra mile to support military spouses to be able to be a financial professional. There's a lot of people that become accredited financial counselors or paraplanners or advisors that aren't earning income and end up volunteering, which is very nice and noble. But at some point you want to have control of your earning power. And that's what that conference was about, is showing people different opportunities and ways to go about it. People that have already been through it or going through it themselves or just starting out, is we can meet people where they're at. Rising tides lift all ships, and figure a way out to support not only service members, but spouses as they grow as financial professionals.
Yeah, I think that's great. One of them that was had a booth right across from us was I forget her name, but she has started a virtual paraplanner organization. I don't know if you can talk to her story at all. I know you know her very well, but a spouse through many PCS or permanent change of stations just was challenged with trying to find employment. She wanted to stay within this profession, but really wanted to look outside of that, and now is very successful. I don't know if you can talk to that at all.
Yes, Alec Hopkins. She started a company called Simply Paraplanner out of frustration from being a military spouse and being a financial professional. She needed a virtual based job, and it couldn't be forward facing with clients in the traditional way that advisors work. She needed to kind of be behind the scenes, because there would be this time where she could be full force in the job and other times she wouldn't be able to. And so she started applying for jobs that were not virtual based. And then once they said she could have the job, she would pitch making the job virtual and she would work around it. And she kept doing that, even though there was a long shot every time that she would never get that job. She started doing that and started working as a paraplanner, and then started to support other military spouses in that career path so they could earn income and be virtual based and find a way around it. And a lot of them have moved forward into advisor positions after their spouses retired or separated from the military. So they are gaining experience and income and are able to pivot after military life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I look at your career, and you've done something very similar to that, and very appreciative of what you provided. And now this conference, as we talked about, is being able to bring those members together and kind of collaborate for the betterment of all. So very, very, very appreciative of that. Sal, I don't know if you saw in the chat, but I just want to bring it to your attention. Somebody made a post that there's transitional housing being used in a community in central PA to combat veteran homelessness that may be able to collaborate with your organization. So it's down there. So hopefully, that's what this is about, right? It's about bringing these forces together. So hopefully we can connect it to maybe do some synergies together there.
Absolutely, Jim. Absolutely.
But one of the other questions, I might as well throw my notes out because we're going all over the place. It's really good. I love it. All right. This is what it's about. One of the other questions that came up about, when you talk about somebody preparing for retirement or somebody preparing to separate from the military, and somebody trying to set themselves up as a financial advisor. If somebody wants to do that, if somebody wants to get into that profession, by the way, we as a college, we're trying to bring them in, right? Because there's a big need out there. We want to try to provide the education for that. But any of you, if you want to take that comment, what type of partner, or what type of skill, or what type of education would they need, or where would they look to get into being a financial planner? I don't know, maybe Lacey or Megan, if you want to take any of that on.
I'm going to defer to you, Lacey. I think you're better suited for that response.
I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll give it a go. Here it is. I think that if you're interested in becoming a financial planner, I would do a lot of informational interviews, especially if you're a military spouse or a service member. Veterati is a wonderful resource connected with LinkedIn for you to get a mentor within the financial services space. So I think that's a great start. There's also, if you're looking to become a certified financial planner, you can look at the CFP board's website and the requirements necessary to become a CFP. Some people start out as financial counselors and coaches and then kind of move up the chain. If you're interested in starting that way in the coaching space, the AFCPE is the body that accreditates all accredited financial counselors, or AFCs. And that's a great way to move into the space. I would also look at universities in your local area or that you're interested in attending. They have programs, they have CFP programs, they have financial services or finance degrees. So you can start there. But I would really think about where you want to operate, how you want to make money as a financial professional, and then back into it. Because if you are trying to be a financial coach, you don't need to be a CFP.
Yeah.
And if you maybe aren't going to be fee only, or you're going to be commission based, there's different ways to go about that. And so I think informational interviews are a great way to start, and then looking at programs that are available that if you are interested in that space as a financial advisor, and talking to a financial advisor just in your area, calling them and asking them for an informational interview. I'm sure most people would be willing to give 20 or 30 minutes of their time, especially virtually, to discuss the career path.
Yeah, that's excellent. And again, the college, our college provides the CFP education, along with, we have our own designations that we offer as well, CHFC. And a lot of times we get people in that just simply don't know that it even existed. We'll bring it to their attention. They just simply didn't know it existed. So trying to attract people into military members and spouses into financial services is a bit of a challenge, I will tell you, because it's just not known. Megan, one of the things that you and I have sort of talked about, and you touched on it, was that idea of career services, and it's something that the American College is taken on in a big way. I don't know if your organization now has something similar to that maybe you can talk to. Do they have an organization that they affiliate themselves with to help with that at all?
Yeah, and I can get some. I can get some further information on that if people are interested, certainly in learning more and, connecting with members of the military that work at Lincoln about what their approach was as well.
Yes.
And we certainly encourage people to learn more about the scholarship program that we support at the college. It's really robust. We have actually several people at Lincoln at the executive level who have gone through certification with the college. So I think I'm certainly more than happy to make any connections with those that are interested in learning more.
And one of the things that you mentioned, Megan, was this BRG.
That's right.
Some companies call them ERGs, employee resource groups, business resource groups.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and what we're trying to do as a college, we're trying to bring those BRGs, ERGs together. We've talked about this, is trying to learn from each other, right? Not as a competition, but learn from each other. That might be something that we explore, is the opportunity for them to mentor military members and military spouses that are wanting to maybe get into the profession. So,
right.
And
I'm already thinking of some ideas, Jim, that we could talk about that, could expose the mentors and leaders at Lincoln about the career, about getting into, how they got into it, and what other opportunities within financial services exist. Because there's more than just being a financial advisor. Like, I'm not a financial advisor, for example. So it's, you met a couple that actually are in IT.
That's right.
For example. So I'd love to talk more about that.
Yeah, not everybody in financial services is a financial planner, right? So we just have to remember that. So that's good. Lacey, just real quick there, I don't know if you caught it in the chat. There was a question asked of who would you talk to on an installation to talk about that financial counselor, or about it being a financial counselor. You mentioned ASC.
If you want to talk to one, or you want to help people?
I would say maybe both. If you want to talk to somebody about being one of them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, typically the first sergeant will send them over to that person, but to give them some advice on being a counselor, who would you send them to?
Oh, so most military installations have a volunteer coordinator. That is the first place that I would start with. I volunteered on an installation. You have to go through a vetting process, especially as a financial professional, to make sure that you're qualified and to understand that there's rules to follow. If you're working on a military installation, there is no sales. You won't ever be taking that person as a client, those type of things. You won't be affiliate or selling them products, things like that. And you'll be working under the Department of Defense guidelines. So if you do a presentation, that is going to be a presentation that's pre-approved, and you kind of stick to the script. But the volunteer coordinator is, I think, the first stop to be able to start volunteering your time on a military installation.
And that's great advice. One of the things that I've noticed since being at the college for the last 8 or 9 months is there's a lot of services, I'll just say, that are really biting onto this of sending people to get this education, financial education, and going back to their own units, people in uniform, going back to their own units. They're appointed as an advisor and doing it from the unit level, not just at, what we call in the Air Force, the Airman Family Readiness Center. right? So there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations that are doing that. They're sending them to us to get the education with the intent of going back while they're still in uniform. So, and to your point, not everybody, not every organization certainly cannot go on an installation and just start preaching about financial education. It doesn't happen. You have to stick within the DoD guidelines. So good advice for sure. So Sal, if I could go back just for a minute, providing a family a home, whether that be one of your smart homes or even a Gold Star family and paying their mortgage off. Would you see any value in providing maybe some basic financial education to these families? Have you all seen any issues with that?
We actually have done some of that, Jim.
Yeah.
We have a legal team that works with them, talks about the pitfalls that you can fall into just because somebody paid off your mortgage. It's like can't be bells and whistles. You still have a responsibility to this home. So we do provide a number of other services to them. As again, it's just not giving somebody a home. Yeah. It's a holistic approach to it, as Megan said, and Lacey has said so very well. There's so much that goes into it than just providing them like just financial help. It's everything else that comes with it. And we do provide those kind of services as well. But if there's anybody out there that wants to work with us, please contact us as you are going to do, Jim. We're all in this together. It takes, as we say, it takes a village to help people, and we're part of that village.
That's right. And there's many organizations that are doing some amazing work out there. I just highlight again your organization that has taken on a whole different element of this and really at a national level to kind of bring focus to the homelessness of veterans. Like you said, nearly 40,000 homeless veterans, just they're out on the streets. And obviously there's ways to attack that. I certainly appreciate what you're doing. And whoever sent the other information from Pennsylvania, we'll put the two together and hopefully you can work together on that.
I will tell you, Jim, I served in the military myself. When I came back from Vietnam in 1967, there was none of this stuff available to us. No, we were on our own.
That's right.
And I can tell you, from a veteran's perspective, it's tremendous what we're trying to do for our veterans communities. And there's so many out there that are needed. So it's great on the part of everybody that's taken in this mission.
Yeah. And can any of the three of you speak to, and I want to overemphasize this point, and I'm pretty sure the audience knows this, but I just want to reemphasize it. There's, I affectionately say GI, and y'all, if you served in uniform, you know what that means. It's not just government issue what it stands for. It's an affectionate term, but none of us want a handout. We're not looking for a handout. Can any of you talk to that at all? What that means?
Well, Jim, I'll tell you from some of our families, when we meet with them and tell them that this is what we're going to do, I mean, they're overwhelmed. They don't expect it.
Yeah.
They don't feel like it's owed to them.
That's right.
They don't look for it.
That's right.
It's listen, we signed up, when I signed up as a firefighter, I knew that I might give my life for my job in my city, but I knew that somebody was going to take care of my family if they did. And I think that's why nobody sees this as a handout. We see it as a responsibility to those who served, so that we can serve them.
And I would agree with that, Sal. So from Lincoln's standpoint, this isn't about charity, right? This is about making an investment in the same way that the military makes an investment in our country. That, when you look at the holistic approach to how, using Lincoln just as an example, you're really looking to build broad-based partnerships. So it's not about writing the check, it's about being involved. And I will tell you, I have the luxury and the privilege of getting updates on scholarship recipients on an annual basis and hearing about the impact that a very small investment in education can provide for their families is just, it's a highlight. So of course there's data and outcomes that we all look to reach to make sure that our programs are effective, but there is nothing more powerful than hearing the stories of the difference that it makes. And so it is a privilege to not be part of that, to not be considered a handout, but a partner, a partner in solutions, a partner in next chapter, a partner in next phase. And it's really the best part of my job, for sure.
I just want to add on the financial side. First of all, Sal, you have me all kinds of feels. Just the work you're doing is so amazing. Just so I'm gonna try not to choke up about that. But I think as a service member, a veteran, a brat, a spouse, all this stuff, we want to help take care of our own. We're never going to turn our back. If we know about it, we're going to do something about it. And when people come to me that maybe are in crisis with their money, I like to remind them that this isn't forever, it's for right now. Take the help. That's very frustrating sometimes, is that if I knew a service member that needed help, or a spouse, all you got to do is say the word and I will give you every resource that I possibly have, every knowledge I have, all of those things. And like Sal, they're giving homes, things that make major impact, but it's just getting through that crisis point, or the point where you need a little bit of help. And then I always say, you could pay it forward. Get right later, take this food bag right now. And later on, you can actually volunteer to hand out food bags if that's, something that you really want to do. But, the military wants to take care of their own.
That's right. That's right. I do see a somewhat of a trend. It's been there for years. Obviously, us on this phone call here have served multiple wars. If I go back, and not served in Vietnam, but I remember being told about Vietnam versus what it was in what we call the first Gulf War, and then Iraq, and then Afghanistan, and how the military members were treated. And I'm super cautious I don't want to ever see it go back to the way it was, because there's too many people that have given too much to make this happen. And what I always say is, our military that we have today needs to be highlighted, that it's an all volunteer force. Number one, all volunteer. Every single one of us is volunteer. And on top of that, the fact that it's the most combat hardened force we've ever served with, that's pretty amazing. I certainly appreciate what your organizations are doing.
Jim, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't think we're ever going to let it go back to the way it was, where we're not going to appreciate our military. We just won't let it happen. There's too many of us out here that know how important it is to take care of their families if something happens to them.
That's right. And I know that gives comfort to those GIs that are out there fighting the wars every single day. So whether it be a small skirmish or a major theater war. So I know they're very appreciative. So Lacey, there's a question out there I think you might be interested in. There was a question asked specifically to you. What resources, I'm sorry, they just skipped them. What resources are out there to hire an operation manager or a team lead from the military spouse demographics? This person is looking for somebody within their own practice that might benefit from military spouses' experience. Do you have any resources that they might look at?
Yeah, so if you're looking for maybe an operations manager, somebody that doesn't have to have a financial background, I put a link. It's called Hire VA USA. They were also at my conference, but it's a military spouse and a veteran that started that organization, and they have military spouses. Some of them aren't, but you can, I believe, ask for a military spouse and for your team. So that's a really great resource, especially, if you're trying to test somebody out and, maybe temporary for a little bit. You don't need them full time, something like that. That's a great resource. Instant Teams is another military spouse organization that creates instant teams for business owners that are military spouses. There's
Yes.
also a group called Wise Advise Assist Team, also military spouses, that all of these companies have their own expertise, military spouses, their career field, and then they are virtually based. And some of them are in person, but those are great places to start with finding someone.
Yeah. That's great. I don't know sure if you had a chance, you all had a chance to read the comments and some of the chat, but they're very good. Things like as a military spouse, I have seen many wolves in sheep clothing. You provide financial education to military members when in reality they are trying to sell financial products. What advice does the panel have to vet these organizations? I'm sure we've all, those of us that served in uniform, know exactly what they're talking about. Any comment to that? I mean, we've kind of talked about the DoD guidelines, but any specifics to that you want to talk to?
I would just say right off the bat, the easiest way is to ask them how they're compensated. That's my favorite question, is
Yes.
how do you make money? Is
Yeah.
it off the sale of this product that you're recommending, especially if it's life insurance or annuity? Or are you receiving money if I buy that product that you're mentioning? I think that's really important, and it can help clarify things very easy. And don't be scared. I have the saying, like, dumb that down for me. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm gonna need you to explain that like you would a third grader, because sometimes that's unfortunately people that are a wolf in sheep's clothing. They are using a lot of jargon, and finances aren't necessarily simple, but they are understandable if people are using everyday terms, and everything can be explained that way. So trying to talk complicated, I think, is a red flag right off the bat, but asking how they're compensated can help nip that real quick.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And a lot of times going back to the DoD guidelines, there are very strict guidelines of members that can go on installations, can't go to the units. They can go to professional organizations or personal organizations, but they can't necessarily go to the units and brief people. So yeah, it is a problem. And unfortunately, it's been a problem for a while, and that's why the DoD has had to clamp down on it pretty severely. So well, there's a lot of questions out there, a lot of comments, but unfortunately, I knew this would happen. Unfortunately, we're getting close to that time, and I want to give our panelists an opportunity. I know there's some chat going back and forth. That's great. I want to give the panelists an opportunity to just kind of summarize their organization and what they provide. And again, their information is in the chat, so you can always go and visit that website to get additional information. But I just want to provide an opportunity for them. So Sal, we started with you. Why don't we go back to you just to kind of close us out, and then we'll give Meghan and Lacey an opportunity to do this.
Well, as I said, our major programs right now for the military are, building these smart homes for our catastrophically injured veterans. Unfortunately, we have a waiting list of probably over 150 waiting. By the end of last year, we have built or paid off 450 mortgages by the end of 2021. And that's before our homeless veterans program started. So this Let Us Do Good Village, the homeless veterans program that we're starting, and we're going to need a lot of help with that, and a lot of financial support as well. It's on our website, how you can donate to the organization. I will tell you this: 95 cents out of every dollar goes to our programs. None of us on the executive board get a salary. We are all volunteers. The CEO and president, Frank Sill, who started this organization with his family, none of them take a salary. It's all volunteer work, so that that when you're spending your money, it's going to a good cause, and it's going for the program you want it to go to.
Yeah, that's excellent. Obviously, they can anybody can go to I forget what is the fundraiser.
Charity Navigator. Yep.
Yeah. So and I did see they were advertising that over the weekend. It's like a 4-star, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Top
so,
rating.
Yeah, very, very good. And because people want to, anytime somebody gives money, and again, being a recipient of a lot of money, we want to make sure that our money goes, that your money goes to what its intended purpose is. So we certainly appreciate, your organization doing
You
this.
talked about a wolves in sheep clothing. When I was the commissioner, I had so many charities coming up to us and saying, we can do this for you. We can. And as soon as as Lacey said, just ask a question, do you get compensated? And then they just went away. So, you got to ask that question right away, put it out there. And if every dollar you spend goes to 80% of it goes to you, we don't want to get involved with your organization.
That's excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Sal. It's good to see you again.
My pleasure.
Megan?
Yeah, thanks again, Jim, for having me. And, to Sal's point, we look for that same thing at Lincoln, is who are the nonprofits in our communities that are doing really great work. And American College is certainly one of them. We're really looking to empower. We're looking to empower individuals. And so any way that we can do that in our community through our partnerships in education and in human services and in financial wellness, anything that we, when we're looking to support those organizations that are offering career robust pathways, where are those holistic services being offered in the community? What organizations are providing them, and how can we help forward that mission? I mean, I think everybody on this call has a shared mission of empowerment.
That's right.
Is how do we continue the momentum that our military families provide every day? And it is, again, it's an honor and a privilege to be a small part of the stories of success that are happening in this organization in particular, and for our military families. And we look forward to continued support. And I hope many people on this call become scholarship recipients.
Yeah.
And look for a career pathway. And we look forward to seeing you at Lincoln.
Excellent. And just so you know, there was somebody on there earlier. I saw it pop up that she was a recipient of a scholarship. So there you have it. Going to good use. So very good use. So thank you, Megan. I look forward to continuing to work with you on all these good efforts. And Lacey, if you could kind of wrap it up for us.
Yes, well, thank you again for having me. I'm so excited that I had the opportunity to meet Saul and Megan through this and hear the wonderful work they're doing. All of this has been, I think, good for my soul that, so many people are doing great work to help the community. What I'm doing is just trying to educate people about money within the military community so they can reach financial freedom, have confidence with money, or just have a better quality of life. And hearing the work that other people do, sometimes you think, well, maybe it's not enough, but I'm in my wheelhouse. That's where I'm staying and doing the work. So just sharing things that can help them improve their quality of life. And then through my conference now, Mill Money Con, really just trying to bring the community together for people to know about each other. A veteran that may have been out 40 years, but is a financial professional that can help an active duty service member that wants to be a financial professional, or a military spouse, help them continue the education and earning power, increase it or start it. That's, I think, really important is for people. It's a big part of their financial independence is to have earning power. Just because you're a financial professional doesn't mean that, you're not staying on top of your money too. So I hope that it does have a positive impact to service members and to financial professionals, the work that I'm doing.
That's excellent advice. And all three organizations, the reason that we invited you today, obviously, is we have something in common, and that's we want to help people, right? So, and Lacey, to your point on the conference, I wrote a note today of kind of a bullet of here's a summary of Mill Money Con. It was low volume, very high value. And I think over the years that volume is going to continue to grow, but I think the value is going to stay there. It's going to remain there because of what's in your heart and what you want to continue to provide and what you want to continue to do. So I would encourage each of you to look up all three of these organizations. They're great organizations. They have, the best interest of the military and the military families at heart, and that's the reason that we team with them. For all of the participants on, or excuse me, all of the members on there, the audience, thank you for attending. Without you, this wouldn't be doable for sure. We appreciate. We hope it was something that you're interested in. We hope that it's something that we can continue to do. We continue to do. We hope you continue to join us. And again, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us today, and we appreciate any feedback that you have for myself, for the college, for the center, or for any of the organizations that are on here today. We'll pass that to them. With that, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.